I graduated with honors from the Middle East Studies Department. I've read so many books. And yes, there's different positions on various, just the Lebanese Civil War is one of the most complicated things that has happened in the region and has had personal divisions for me with family members on different sides. And so, yes, there is a lot of complicated history. And on the flip side, I said, oh, it's great we have social media, right, to see the horrors of war crimes documented. But then the bad side is sometimes people just take a snippet out of context and they think that they're an expert and that they can speak, oh, well, Hamas did this, or, oh, well, this happened. It's like, well, did you know that Israel helped fund Hamas? Did you know that Israel helped divide the Palestinian political movement by funding? And they've admitted to it. It's in a Wall Street Journal article from 1994. You can find it in the archives of the Wall Street Journal. Maybe now they'll take it down. But that, like if you don't understand these nuances, if you don't read the history, you're also kind of, I don't want to say insulting, but those who have spent their lives studying it. I speak Arabic. I've lived in the region in different parts of Lebanon, Syria, Egypt. So there's some places that the experts should be allowed to speak about. And I think what a lot of experts will agree, to answer you, is that the way to peace is that there needs to be a Palestinian state. This is the solution to so much violence and to so many problems. And you've actually even had various other regional leaders been saying this, and I wish they would have said it before because we've needed this for a long time. When people say, oh, but what's the solution? There's a ceasefire, people will start fighting again. People have to remember the Palestinians don't have their own state yet. So it's great that we're recognizing Palestine, that people are waving the flags in protest. 146 countries recognize the Palestinian state. When I was at the UN on behalf of Lebanon, I put together the legal argument as to how Palestine participates in so many international economic bodies, international cultural bodies, is a clear global player, and has all of the elements to be a state, but they don't have self-determination. Israel controls every aspect of their lives. So when people want to blame who they want to blame, oh, but Hamas governance, do you know what Gaza was like before 2023, which I hate to even reference as a point of anything because, being under siege where Israel controls the amount of calories that are allowed on a truck inside Gaza. When Israel prevents cancer medicine from entering Gaza, it prevents chocolate, stops the fishermen on their nautical miles from fishing in their own territory. These people didn't have any self-governance, any right to feed their children, to go to schools that they want to travel. They weren't allowed to leave, to go travel the world, to go study abroad. We have to, and same the West Bank, I'm not even going to get started there, but, they also control. There's been some great activists and Black scholars from the US that went there and were like, wait a minute, is this complicated or is this apartheid like what happened in the US when there was segregation? For them, they were like, this is the exact same thing. But more brutal and more violent. The South Africans said the apartheid was more brutal, more violent than their apartheid. Anyway, a Palestinian state, I think, is the path to peace. I also think Lebanon needs to have its entire sovereignty. So in this ceasefire, the Israelis are supposed to pull out south of the Litani River in the next 60 days. Hezbollah is also supposed to withdraw, and the Lebanese army is supposed to enter. And this is the plan: 5,000 troops of the Lebanese army, 60 days to prove that this will happen. It's sort of like a 2-month halt. And the Litani River has been very contentious. It's also a major water source for Lebanon, for the Lebanese. So Lebanon needs entire sovereignty. Lebanon needs to have its borders respected. Again, it's very rich of the French president and all these other ministers to be like, oh, we believe in Lebanese sovereignty, while they allowed Israel to just barge in and just kill and pillage and destroy at will. And now you should go back after you, if you want Lebanese sovereignty, I think also is critical to keeping peace and to having a path for justice.
I want to go back for a second and talk about Palestine and the UN. Excuse my ignorance. They are not recognized as a state, correct?
So they have the statehood. They have the statehood status, but they need to be officially the Palestinian member state of the UN. So there's,
and what does that mean?
So essentially, all of the nations need to recognize that that when it makes the bid, it gets accepted and it gets voted on. So it does need the majority to accept.
Is there a group or a number of nations that have not accepted them, and all of them have to accept them as accept Palestine?
So the state of Palestine is recognized as a sovereign state by 146 countries. Spain, Norway, and I think Ireland recently joined in June of this year. But there's 193 official member states of the UN. So right now, Palestine actually has a limited status as a non-member observer state, so it does not have the same voting rights in the General Assembly. This is due, again, back to the veto power that we discussed. Essentially, the Security Council would have to approve a new permanent member. And obviously, the U.S. keeps vetoing this from happening.
And do all of the countries have to approve for it to be recognized?
The Security Council has to approve.
The Security Council, okay.
And it has, again, over 75% of the General Assembly members. So, I mean, look, I think it would be a step in the direction of Palestine statehood, but I also wouldn't put all of my hope into one UN resolution. That obviously many resolutions get violated. So what really needs to happen is that Israel commits in peace talks to actually to ending the occupation. This is when I said like a little while ago when you're asking me about the peace path, statehood means ending the occupation, and Israel, like, there needs to be concrete actions on the ground. It'd be great if the UN votes for it and that they have their voting rights, but we need Israel to withdraw from the West Bank and withdraw from Gaza and actually be honest and legitimate in upholding a state where they have their own government and their own self-determination.
I am a hopeful person, but do you see that day coming? What needs to happen?
Of course I do. Look, I'm 35 years old. I've lived through a lot, but a lot more can happen. I mean, the unpredictability of the world, global pandemic, a genocide, things can happen that maybe others don't predict. So I don't like to play the game of like, oh, it's not, I believe it will happen in my lifetime. And I also believe, that beyond like what we wish to happen is we need concrete actions. We can't just keep, spinning the wheel and having, I don't know, being passive. And I think what's happened is unfortunately, that it was a genocide, but I think what happened is there was an awakening, I think, among people who live in the West, who I don't think through any fault of their own, maybe were unaware of what was truly happening. I think this also signals a revolution needed in education and in media. I mean, the media, when we look back on this in history, the same way we look back on the Holocaust, we're like, oh, these people were Nazi sympathizers, or these people were abetting in genocide, like newspapers that were putting out certain headlines. I think we will look back, and anyone that lied, which was a lot of the Western media, and I mean lie, not like propaganda twisted the headline, but still said the truth, lied, will be seen as aiding and abetting this genocide. And it's been exposed. I mean, people weren't falling for it. And you have unbelievable brave journalists coming out. I mean, Israel also, to add to the list of war crimes, has killed more journalists than in any other recent conflict. They have killed more aid workers. And actually, going back to why they should be kicked out of the UN, they have killed the highest number of UN personnel in any single conflict in its history, which is over 228 UN personnel killed. I mean, the behavior has just been out of control. I mean, we if we go back, we have the whole list of so many atrocities, but one of them including the World Aid, the name, those aid workers that were killed, some were from Australia, World Food Kitchen, that the strike, I mean, the image is so striking because it's like the hole of the missile through the roof of their car, a clearly marked car, World Food Kitchen, like volunteers. You saw this young girl with this big, beautiful smile, excited to go volunteer in Gaza, and she was killed. And so these were very intentional. They're bombing, in terms of assassinating journalists and aid workers. Sorry, to go back to your question, I think people have become awakened, and I think that they're frustrated that they have their own problems. Americans, anyone who lives in the U.S., there are so many challenges here in the U.S. There is so much that people, paying a lot of taxes every year, taken away from their hard-earned paycheck and income, expect that at least some of it should be invested in their communities. And of course, some of it is, but to justify $9 billion going to the Israeli military, just in like a couple months, rewarding them for bombing Lebanon, over 20 billion over the course of its history. I mean, FEMA, the hurricane relief, announcing a $9 billion shortfall after the horrific storms that devastated homes in North Carolina and Florida. I mean, come on. People are like, you can do better than this. I mean, the Biden administration announcing $750 per family to recuperate after are you kidding me? In the US, what is that going to buy? A month's groceries? Barely? I mean, that's why I feel we're all connected. This isn't just like, oh, Palestine and Lebanon, and, you can see these as separate issues and it's foreign, it doesn't concern me. Well, I mean, people see that it does concern them and they're frustrated. And I've also seen some incredible veterans come out and speak out. And that has been beautiful to see. Again, this sort of collectivity. That's why I have hope. To answer your question, I mean, some of these veterans have given some very beautiful speeches. They're like, look, I served war. This isn't it. And not only is this not it, this is like, insulting and offending our great country that we love called the United States of America, and that we believe we served for something good. And, how dare you? How dare you jeopardize everything that these veterans risked with their mental health, with their physical health, with their lives, feeling that they're serving a country that upholds certain values. I think at the end of the day, values is what this is all coming down to, because the values are now directly correlated to well-being. So I do have hope. I think there will be a great future ahead. People are aware, people are exposed, and I think it's just a matter of time before people realize the tools and resources that they have to make action.